Hello, and welcome to Season 3 of the Working While Homeschooling podcast, the podcast for workingwhilehomeschooling.com, where our mission is to help homeschooling parents make money, maybe even have a career, while continuing to homeschool and without losing their sanity. My name is Julie, and I'm your host and resident career coach today. I want to thank you all for joining us and listening in. I hope you're doing well. Today's episode is all about homeschool conventions. The concept of full-year homeschool schedule planning is all about keeping your sanity. Learn how to plan an entire homeschool year all at once. As a working homeschooling mom for 8 years now, I know that even a little bit of pre-planning can save a whole lot of my sanity moving forward. And now for just $35, not only do you receive this 1.5 hour long course, grouping all homeschool planning together not only saves your time and energy, but it lowers your stress in the long term, in addition to help keeping great notes for your evaluation portfolios. My organization and system assists you in keeping to the learning goals you set for each child, and yet opens new doors for creativity and dealing with the unexpected. Check out my course, Planning and Organizing Your Entire Homeschool Year, now just for $35. I look forward to walking you through the steps to organize your entire homeschool year all at once. I am so excited that Homeschool Convention season is back. Now, these podcasts were all podcasts I had planned to record and share for you last year, and then the pandemic basically canceled the entire Homeschool Convention season. I love homeschool conventions because we lived in Virginia. I attended the Virginia Homeschool Conventions, and Heave is awesome, by the way, if you're in that area. There's just so many resources and information available when you go to these large-scale homeschool conventions. Now, that being said, I wanted to give you guys some tips because the bigger the convention, the more overwhelming it can be. What are the various components you might see at a homeschool convention? Well, first of all, you will have your seminars and speakers. You'll have the large speaker rooms, and then you'll have the smaller breakout sessions. Definitely go online to your homeschool convention website. Get this downloaded. Now, why would you want to go to these sessions? Because frankly, they can be some of the best resources available for you. You know, you could hear everything from how to homeschool math, to using world geography, to hearing speakers from some of the larger homeschool curriculum speaking, and so on and so on. And your local homeschool conventions, maybe the smaller ones, sometimes the more smaller localized homeschool conventions can be quite helpful because you're meeting people in your actual neighborhoods. You're hearing from the vendors who do the football league for homeschoolers. We had a soccer league co-op for all homeschoolers once. So there's a lot of great resources that you can find for your local situation. And also the larger ones may have the larger speakers and so on. So going to the sessions is awesome. Often at homeschool conventions, you're going to have some sort of exhibit hall or vendor hall. These are the people who have paid for that table to present their services, their curriculum, their products to you. And yes, I definitely suggest and encourage going through the exhibit hall, talking to them as a resource, but also let's support our homeschool vendors as well, because without them, we would all be stuck on our own, right? So those people who have gone through the process of creating curriculums, who have built products and that sort of thing, especially geared to our homeschool community, if we can support them, let's do so. So you get the exhibit hall, you get the sessions. Usually there's some form of a used curriculum sale as well. So if you have used curriculum that you'd like to get rid of, this is a great way to do it, kind of recoup part of your cost. But we'll talk about that more later. You might see some kind of extra added on benefits. At Heave, we used to get the homeschool graduation, the formal graduation program. It was great. We've also seen things like having a college fair. So the colleges will come to the homeschool convention to frankly recruit homeschoolers to come to their colleges. If your kids are anywhere from, let's say, 7th to 8th grade on up, you want to start making friends, all of these colleges who are literally dying to have our homeschoolers in them. And then you may have things like a kids program. So you could drop the kids off and they can be entertained while you're going to these sessions, and so on and so on. So there's always some extra things on the side at homeschool conventions, depending on depending on the size and their organizational ability and so on. So homeschool conventions aren't A, just to sell you stuff, and they aren't B, just for kind of teacher education in a sense. It's all of the above. I have had such wonderful experiences at all of the homeschool conventions that I've attended. And frankly, when I was a little homeschool mommy blogger, my convention blogs were the most popular of all of my blog posts. So I've collected all of my best tips so you can have a wonderful experience at a homeschool convention. Number one, and this was literally the first question I asked when I wanted to go to a homeschool convention. We had just started homeschooling. I was so nervous to even attend. I called them up and asked dress code because I didn't know any other homeschoolers. And I was worried that, we were going to need to wear skirts to the floor, whatever kind of impression you might have of other homeschoolers in mind. Frankly, we understand. And I will tell you, I was so nervous to go to my homeschool convention because I didn't have the prairie dresses to the floor or anything like that. So dress code for homeschool conventions, typically respectful. Okay. I don't even want to say modest because I think people take the word modest sometimes the wrong way. But I would say understand that there will be those in the crowd who, from a religious perspective or a cultural perspective, will have very strict dress codes themselves. In that vein, I'm going to say dress respectful of other people's cultures and beliefs. Okay. I'm not saying you need to wear the skirt to the ground, but maybe to the knee would be more appropriate. But at the homeschool conventions we attended, we had a large Mennonite population that attended. And frankly, with my girls, they were fascinated by that. So we definitely went up and talked to them very politely. And so my girls could ask them their questions about why they wear the head covering and what does that mean, and so on. So understand that, most people will be very open and accepting, and you're going to see every gamut of kind of clothing out there. When I talk about dressing respectfully, okay, what I mean is to appreciate the convictions and beliefs of others. And at most homeschool conventions, there is no official dress code, okay? But I would say it would be polite to take others' concerns about modesty and dress into consideration. I'm not saying go crazy. I'm not saying you have to buy more clothes. I'm just saying understand that there will be people in the crowd that may have different beliefs from you. And now, along with dress code, there are two really big points I want to make. You need to wear the most comfortable shoes you own because you're going to be walking a ton. I don't care if your shoes even match your outfit. All right. They need to be so comfortable because otherwise you are going to kill yourself with all the walking at some of these conventions. And especially the large scale conventions, man, you can put some steps on that pedometer. So make sure you are wearing some super, super, super comfortable shoes. Imagine walking in Disney World all day long and you'll be close to the amount of steps that you would put in for a homeschool convention. My second point is most of these homeschool conventions will be taking place in some sort of convention center or exhibit space. And frankly, they always knock the AC down to about -12. So if you have a small sweater or a wrap that you can kind of fold up small and shove down in your purse, I would absolutely bring it. Because some of those exhibit halls are freezing and some of them are terribly hot. So if you have a little sweater, that you can kind of bunch up, shove down in your bag, I would absolutely bring it. And I would absolutely make sure you're wearing the most comfortable shoes because nobody's going to look down at your feet. Don't worry about them being cute or matching or anything else, just comfortable, whatever that is for you. Now, beyond the dress code, because again, that was my first worry when I went to my first convention, here are some other tips for you. If you have one of those little rolly carts on wheels, I would highly recommend you bring it, because that way you can roll all of that stuff that you're about to buy around. Oftentimes, at least one of the vendors will have those on sale if you don't have it. So one of the things that was really popular are those little square carts on wheels that kind of fold up real small, kind of looks like a grocery wheeling cart, whatever kind of thing. Whatever you get, whatever you can do, get that cart. Make sure you have one, because in about 20 minutes of walking around all of these various seminars with all of the freebies you get and the handouts and then the books that you buy and so on, you are going to flat out kill your back if you try to carry it. That was the first mistake I made. And about 30 minutes into it, I realized this was the biggest mistake I made. So get one of those, like kind of if you already own them, awesome. The wheelie cart box bags, things, whatever, as long as it's on wheels that you can pull around, it's worth every penny. Now, this sounds silly, but there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to want to sign up for. And frankly, the more vendor tables you go to and you're signing up here, I was starting to get a little bit of carpal tunnel, writing my name and email address and phone number over and over and over. So instead, I would recommend printing out some return address labels, the small ones, okay, with your name and your email address, whatever information you want to give out, especially when you're signing up on all these forms. So much easier to whip out a label and stick it on one of these forms than filling these things out over and over and over. It's a small little thing. It's going to make your life easier during a convention. Now, if you're having to say, let's pack to go to one of these conventions, pack exactly half of what you think you need for the duration and then cut that down further by another half. Okay. Really, it's so easy to overpack for one of these things. And then that's just more stuff that you have to organize and keep on top of. Okay. Because remember, you're going to be coming back with about 4 times of what you went with. So just condense what you have to bring and bring only that. Don't bring extra to do in the evenings after the convention in the hotel. Okay. You will be so exhausted. You will be tired. You will not want to do any of it. None of it. Okay. Don't bring stuff for the kids to play with, because they can play with whatever you bought that day. You're going to be brain dead. You're going to be tired. So don't prep like thinking, okay, I'm going to go work and do all these hours of work after the convention. You're not going to get anything done, because you are going to be fried. Now, another tip that I've learned from business conventions is to have business cards or some way that you can share your contact info with the people you meet and make friends with. So standing in line, or you go into a session, you start talking to the person next to you, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is my new favorite friend. Have a way to share your information. And I will say this is one of the things that I've always done, because I'm used to business networking, that when I went to homeschool conventions, people were shocked. They never thought of that before. And I was like, oh, well, let's get together. Sure. And I kind of whip out my business card out of my purse. And I'm like, here's my personal info I put it on the back of my business card. So again, have something where you can share your info if you've made a new friend. Then have the address label. So if you're going around and signing up on all the free product giveaways and the mailing list and so on, get labels so you can kind of lick and stick, as I like to say, and you don't have to handwrite all of that. And while I'm at that, do you realize these are all business networking ideas? So think of your homeschool convention as an opportunity to network with other homeschoolers. So if you see someone online with that math curriculum you're looking at, ask them, I just see that you bought X, Y, and Z math curriculum. That was on my list to research while I'm here. What do you think about it? So instant icebreaker, right? Everyone likes talking about the stuff they just bought or that they're thinking of buying or whatever. Go to these homeschool conventions and only talk to the people you already know. Use this as an opportunity to make new homeschool mom friends, because let's face it, we all need homeschool mom friends. And if you can find other working while homeschooling mom friends, even better. They are your biggest resource and support and so on. Please use this opportunity. Step out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself to talk to at least one new person, at least one person per day, if not, let's say half a day. So pick one person to talk to and make a friend before lunch and one after lunch for each day of the convention. Why do I say that? Because somebody like I did in my very first convention, I went all by myself with two small children. My husband was out of the country at the time, and I was alone. I had never known another homeschooler. Had never seen another homeschooler, to be honest. And I was just starving for conversation. I was starving for community. And now that might be you guys, right? But you could also be that blessing to someone else. Include them in your circle. If they're nearby you and they look like they're alone, include them in your circle. Open it up to include new people. Another thing you're going to want to bring is some way of taking notes. Now, most homeschool conventions are going to give you this little bag of handouts or whatever. There might be no taking paper in there, but just in case, bring some extra pens and bring one notebook. Okay, don't bring 50, bring one notebook where you can sit there and take notes as needed, because you're going to hear something in one of those seminars and you're going to go, oh, that's me. I needed to hear that. And well, write that down, whatever it is. Now, along with not bringing stuff and planning work for the evenings or thinking you're going to be super productive at 5 o'clock after being in a homeschool convention all day, I want you to focus on sleep those evenings, okay? Overwhelm, and I've been to probably 7 or 8 years of homeschool conventions at this point. I will tell you, overwhelm is my biggest problem at homeschool conventions. I'm emotionally overwhelmed. I am like sensory overwhelmed with as much as I'm looking at. I'm information overload, usually by about 6 o'clock on the first day. Okay, I'm not lying. So overwhelm is my biggest problem. And frankly, I find that when I get into overwhelm, it is really hard for me to sleep. So literally after the convention, if you're sitting in a hotel, okay, guys, because I have to go to hotels for the convention. So if you feed everyone in the family, get them back, put them through the bath time regime, get everybody in and out of those hotel showers and all of that. And then focus on getting people to sleep. And your main goal those evenings after a homeschool convention is to get some serious sleep, because the second day is harder. I'm not going to lie. Because the first day you're all excited and the second day is like, oh my goodness, so much more to do. Okay. So focus on getting serious sleep in. Whatever it takes for you to get sleep, that's your biggest deal. Make sure you've kind of taken your labels and your business cards. You've got your little notebook, your little pen. You've got the most comfortable shoes you own. And I'm serious, walking shoes, folks. And the rolly cart and, appropriate clothing. Okay. I'm not saying modest, because I know people have issues with that word. Appropriate clothing, your toiletries, whatever. And that's it. Okay. Focus on getting sleep, because for the next 2 or 3 days at your homeschool convention, you're just really trying to focus on soaking as much knowledge as you can. And one last tip, make sure you check the hotel room before you check out. My first convention, I walked away without my very, very expensive pillow and had to pay the hotel to ship it back to me. And that was a huge pain. So make sure you pack everything else up and you do at least 2 walkthroughs of the hotel room. Now you may want to pack some empty totes in your car to organize all the stuff that you bought. So if you have those totes and things that fold up flat, or you can bundle down small, those empty ones can be awesome to organize all that stuff that you just bought so you can get it back in the trunk. Okay. So that may save your sanity trying to repack your car. Worst case scenario, they stay empty and you just stick them back in your trunk of your car. So those are my biggest tips about kind of going to a homeschool convention. Now, if they have childcare and your kids are at the appropriate age, I highly recommend it. Let your kids go have fun in the kid program while you're doing the convention. If the speaker sessions are recorded and for sale, that can be some of the best money investment you have. I always buy the speaker recordings and then listen to the speaker sessions later. If the session is being recorded, I don't go to it. I only go to the sessions that aren't being recorded for whatever reason, because I know I can listen to the recording later. And all of that time that I'm saving, not going into the sessions because I'm going to listen to those recordings later, I'm focusing on going to the used curriculum sale, talking to all the various vendors I need to speak to, and so on. So there you go, part one of my homeschool convention series and our podcast about how to kind of prep, pack, get yourself ready to go. Now, as we wrap up our episode today, I want to thank you all for listening in. There are a ton of great podcasts out there, but you chose to spend your time here with me, so thank you. In the show notes, you're going to find the links to my site, workingwhilehomeschooling.com, and all of the great ways you can connect with me online. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please consider becoming one of our listener supporters by following the link in the show notes. A small monthly donation helps me continue with great content and interviews like you've heard here today on the Working While Homeschooling podcast. Your positive online reviews, subscribing to the podcast, sharing it with your friends is greatly appreciated as well. If you know someone that you think would be a great guest of our podcast, please let me know at julie@workingwhilehomeschooling.com. Thank you for listening in today, and please make sure you're joining us in our Facebook group for continuing conversation on today's topic and beyond. I look forward to seeing each of you soon at our next podcast for Working While Homeschooling.